Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. As we continue with Part 19, The Cult of the Black Mother, from A History of Secret Societies by Arkon Daraul. Chapter 18, The Cult of the Black Mother. Three secret types of organization have given new words to the world's languages: the Assassins of Persia, the Tongs of China, and the Thugs of India. Thug means literally one who deceives, from the Hindi verb Thagtta, and the member of this most awful cult of the black goddess is one who practices a certain form of deception. He lives an open life of virtue, a secret one of destruction. A great deal has been written from time to time about the stranglers of India, and on analysis almost all of it is found to be derived from the 1840s, when a determined attempt to put down the nationwide cult of stranglers had been made. Hundreds were caught, convicted of murder, sentenced, and the movement was thought to be crushed for all time. Something which springs, however, from the very depths of the Hindu religion as it is still understood and practiced, has a greater vitality than the gallant British officers who caught the thug gangs would have thought. Thuggee is still with us and will remain in one form or another as long as the goddess Kali is worshipped, and as long as the secret initiation and training of the society continues. What is thuggee? It is a religion, a secret society, a means of enriching its members. Contrary to what has been said by some sensational writers, there has been no case of it in England, and the thugs do not operate as hirelings or travel great distances in search of victims who have desecrated temple idols. Originally, the cult of the murderers was practiced by certain tribes who adopted the goddess of destruction as their patroness. Later, probably with the infiltration into India of members of the assassins, it became a cult which the normally daggers-drawn Muslims and Hindus both joined. Thug villages were known. Thugs roamed in robber bands. The man next door, regardless of his apparent station in life, might be a thug. This was common knowledge in India before and during British rule, and very little could be done about it. The priesthood of the stranglers was generally drawn from thug families, nominally of either of the two main religions, though these priests were not necessarily the leaders of the murder bands. Over the centuries, the cult grew into a full-blown religion-cum-tribe with its own rules of behavior, its own signs and passwords, its own argot and superstitions. Briefly, the thugs believed that the goddess Bhavani, also known as Kali the Black One, demanded lives as her sacrifice. In return, she gave success in this world, and a part of this success was the property of the victims and immunity from being caught. By their own traditions, the thugs in their present form came into being at about the same time that the Mongols reduced the fortress of Alamut and drove out the nest of assassins there. According to General Sleeman, who played a large part in the struggle against the bands, they are descended from the armies of Xerxes, but there seems little support for this theory. The bands used Persian military organization and ranks. There are resemblances between them and certain tribes native to India, which are known as criminal tribes, and it is probable that the Hindu ritualism was grafted upon the Muslim military framework. The religion is based upon a myth which is taught to every young thug and which is implicitly believed. Kali was born of Shiva, one of the three great Brahmin gods. Sometimes she is also his consort. She represents the evil spirit, delights in human blood, presides over plague and pestilence, and directs the storm and hurricane, and ever aims at destruction. She is represented under the most frightful effigy the Indian mind could conceive. Her face is azure, streaked with yellow. Her glance is ferocious. She wears her disheveled and bristly hair displayed like the peacock's tail and braided with green serpents. Round her neck she wears a collar, descending almost to her knees, composed of human skulls. Her purple lips seem streaming with blood. Her tusk-like teeth descend over her lower lip. She has 8 or 10 arms, each holding some murderous weapon and sometimes a human head dripping with gore. With one foot she stands on a human corpse. She has her temples in which the people sacrifice cocks and bullocks to her. But her priests are the thugs, the sons of death. While the worship of Bhavani remains a part of the Hindu religion, the possibility of human sacrifice will always remain. This is not to say that the Kali worshippers are not divided into a number of different branches, some of them claiming that she represents certain atavistic elements of the human mind, and that her worship is necessary. to release emotions that would otherwise be spent in social violence. The fact is that the result of Kali worship has generally proved to be an evil thing, looked at from most people's ideas of right and wrong at the time of writing. Only one former Kali priest, not a thug, has ever written a full account of what the training system of the Kali people is and how her devotees actually think. This has not been published before, and here it is. Those of us who were born and brought up in the worship of Kali believe that the greatest expression of deity is feminine in nature. This is the belief of many Hindus, but not all. It is the belief of those who are called Saktas, that is, worshippers of creative force, especially in the sexual sense. The male existed first, but his power is projected via an energy whose quality is feminine rather than anything else. Who is Kali? Kali is just the form given to energy, force, or life spirit. She has no actual existence in any shape or form, but we worshipped her as a female because we men already contain the life spirit of the masculine type. We need the feminine type until we get to the stage when we can become whole. That is, until we combine the two in us, or until we gain spiritual insight into the meaning of the combination of male and female. Kali, this former priest says, is the vulgar name for energy in her form as Shiva's wife. Kali means black female, Shiva is white. Other names, all of which are used, some as passwords, by her worshippers, are Devi, Sati, Rudrani, Parvati, Chinnamastika, Kamakshi, Uma, Meenakshi, Himavati, Kumari. These names, if repeated, give a special power, it is believed, to the worshipper. He can attain his aims in life if he invokes her by these names, but he must not actually shed blood in satisfying his objectives. This ruling, taken literally, may have been the origin of the use of the ceremonial noose in the bloodless killings by the stranglers. Kali has a constructive and a destructive side. In her name of Bhavani, she is destructive. She demands animal sacrifices, for as energy and force she takes life. Life cannot be taken except with her permission, whoever is taking it. As Durga, she is considered to be the destroyer of evil and devils. A buffalo or fruit is offered to the idol if anti-evil work is desired of her, and she never fails to respond if the intention is pure and strong enough. There is an attempt to harness all the human emotions into the worship of the one Kali, as one can see from the next passage in the confession of the priest. As the mother, Kali is called upon as Ma, and she is worshipped in this aspect as a giver of life. She is gentle and loving, unlike the father, who is represented by the invocant. As the wife, she is called by the name of Parvati, the dutiful wife and love goddess who can bring the love of the one desired to the worshipper. As the virgin, the emblem of purity, she is Kumari and gives and sustains purity when called by this name. The worship of the goddess may be open or secret. The left-hand worshippers who follow the destructive principle and claim that they can utilize it worship in secret. In the higher levels of initiation, worship is changed for both the Tatra, left hand, and other worshippers. The Tantrics explain that the physical license of the worship of Kali is needed for brutish mankind in this evil Kali Yuga time. This is because only a few can liberate themselves from the flesh and reach divinity direct. Kali Puja, Kali worship, gives the brutish man and woman an outlet and an idea of how intoxicating true communion with the divine could be. For this reason, according to the priest, it is not uncommon for mass orgies to be held in the early stages of initiation of even the right-hand worshippers, so that they may get a glimpse of the physical reflection of the true ecstasy, which comes with acceptance by Kali. In this latter stage, of course, there is no physical orgasm possible in the worshipper, for he or she has reached a further state, where all experience is of the mind. This preaching gives the opportunity for a great deal of debauchery and license, and this is one of the reasons why active Kali worship has been looked upon askance, though tolerated by other Hindus. Some of the right-hand teachers reserve the ecstatic experience for a stage when the initiate can understand as well as experience it, pointing to the possibility that this experience is, in fact, a physically induced one, which has no relationship with spiritual things. The story of the former devotee continues with the information that he was born into a high-caste Hindu family in Calcutta, the city named after Kali. His father had him initiated at the age of 6. He progressed in the cult until in my 33rd year, I reached the grade of Guru, teacher, the highest degree. I had thus spent 27 years in active Kali worship, When the final secrets were told to me, I had 3 months to meditate upon them. My choice was either to stay with the cult to lead others and coach them to enlightenment, or to remain on as a silent guru, one who does not tell anything, or to wander in search of knowledge. The whole initiation ceremonies of the cult are now exposed. Dressed in a white loincloth, the applicant is taken to a small room where 4 teachers in relays explain that Kali is the Great Mother who represents all mothers, the wife, the sister, the daughter. A man is not complete until he has experienced femininity in all aspects of relationship, in physical touch and also within himself. The goddess must possess him. This continues for 16 days, during which he is taught and repeats until he knows by heart the prayers to the goddess. Eventually he is to say and to believe, "I belong to Kali and I am returning to her. If I sin, she will take me away." Now the initiate is left to himself for some months, the period varies, and prays at sundown each day for 1 hour. One day during this time, the 4 teachers come. If he has been chosen for admission, they will make the sign of prayer, palms together, hands pointing upwards, and he follows them. If not, they shake their heads and leave. He or she is taken to an open space which must be outside, and enters a ring of believers standing around a cross drawn on the ground. All fall on their knees, and facing inwards they pray silently for guidance. The guru says, "Bhavani, O great mother of all the world, we are your followers and slaves. Deign to accept this, your humble worshipper. Give him all you can, save him from all that may be. Prosper him in all his undertakings, for you prosper us all, and you, in your constructive aspect, preside over every undertaking, large and small. He is ready, he is ready. If you agree, give us a sign, give us a sign." All now await an omen. This should be the movement of a bird or animal, or some unnatural or unusual happening. There is a long list of favorable and unfavorable omens. Cats fighting in the first watch of the night is evil. If they jump, it is worse. A hare crossing from left to right is evil, the other way about is good. There are quite a number of variations because different groups of thugs claim that they are communicated with by Bhavani in different ways, and they base their omens upon what happened immediately after a certain sign was seen. When the omen has been seen, all cry, "We thank you, Mother Devi, Bhavani." The initiate now bathes in running water, repeating to himself, "Bhavani is life, Bhavani is death, Bhavani is all." He is taken after a further 4 days to a huge feast, where he is handed jasmine flowers, yellow is the Kali color, and sprayed with rose water. Naked girls tempt him by swaying before him, and he is given every opportunity of indulging his passions. He must not yield. Now he takes the oath by which he binds himself forever to the service of the goddess, and he is given the white lungi, loincloth of initiation into the lowest grade, that of Kela, the disciple. The manner of worship of Kali is thus: anyone may worship Bhavani, but mass worship is best. Kilas worship thus, led by a guru at night. A statue of Bhavani or a pair of buffalo horns to represent her is set up. This is indoors in a house or in a specially set-aside room in a temple. A circle is drawn with the emblem, horns or statue in the center, and this mark, a dot within a circle, is traced in a pile of consecrated sand which stands before the emblem. The worshippers sit with their faces towards the center. Men and women sit alternately. When women worshippers are short, temple prostitutes, divine body givers, are supplied. Only 3 types of women may take part: one's own wife, the wife of another, or temple prostitutes. Now the wine is consecrated, according to what the purpose of the rite is. The primary purpose is ecstasy, and the secondary, for which the consecration is needed, may be almost anything. For rites involving the need of money, a gold pot is used; for freedom, silver; for happiness, copper; food or works of construction, base alloy; love, crystal; stone for power; clay for hate. The ritual combines, it will be seen, that of religion and magic. Kali is asked to perform a service for the worshipper, as well as being herself done honor to by those who are dedicated to her cult. As incense spreads its heady perfume mounting to the ceiling of the room, the guru fills the container with wine and intones the mystical words, Mum, Kum, Jamrum. Give power to this wine and convert it into divine nourishment. The vessel of wine is placed before the chief guest, who fills small bowls from it. 3 of the 4 other makaras, ritual elements, are brought by the assistant priest and blessed in the same words. The 5 sacred elements of the power of Kali are wine, meat, fish, Indian corn, and sexual intercourse. 4 bowls of wine are drunk by each participant, 1 with each course. After this, sexual intercourse is necessary for the 5th Makara to be ratified. This worship of Kali may take place by the uninitiated, led by the priest, and it is not unusual for it to be celebrated on Wednesday evenings, which are sacred to her, the participants behaving for all the world as if they were carrying out a ceremony of the greatest gravity. Chelas often are invited to these ceremonies in order that they may become accustomed to the atmosphere. To continue with the training of the disciple, however, we find that he is not promoted to the 2nd degree, called bliss, until his master is satisfied that he is pliable enough to assimilate further conditioning. Those who have reached this stage are told to fast for 4 days, drinking only milk. 4 more days are spent now in contemplating destruction in as many forms as the Chela can conceive. Now the youth is taken and given coconut juice to drink, standing before the idol, meditating how evil he is and how evil he might be able to be. He takes a new oath of secrecy and hatred of all but his fellow believers. Then another vow by which he binds himself, if necessary, to hatred of all but his teachers. A temple woman, at a signal from the priest, steps from behind the Kali statue and hands him a small effigy of the goddess. This he places to his private parts, then kisses it. He is now given a flower with 5 petals, symbolizing the 5 Makaras. That evening, during the worship of the idol, he is gashed in his right arm, from which he drinks some of the blood and rubs it with consecrated raw sugar, the sacred gur of the thugs. Special ceremonies are now open to the initiate, who attends dancing sessions at which men sit and watch naked women dancing until they themselves pass into an ecstatic frenzy. In these rites, the guru takes no active part. His function is to chant hymns of praise, some made up on the spot, and concentrate upon invoking the energy principle. The effect of these proceedings is greatly increased by the flickering of numerous temple lamps, the heady incense, and the repeated assurance by the priest that Kali is actually present, looking through the bloodshot eyes of her awful statue. The 3rd stage comes when the guru sees that the initiate is ready for anything. He watches him for signs of frenzy, seeing just how quickly the ecstasy develops on successive evenings. He is taught the use of more magical words and phrases. He's also allowed to use some of the temple funds if he wants to build up a small business. At the same time, he is subjected to tests to shake his faith. He is branded with 11 marks in front of the idol, on the right or left arm, according to which path he has taken. The rituals include making him scream repeatedly until he falls in what is described as a fit. The words used for this strange procedure are Bhawani, May, Mu, Kling. He's asked at this juncture whether he is prepared to kill anyone, even his own child, for the sake of the goddess of destruction. The 4th stage in the training comes only when the worshipper is able to throw himself into a trance on a word, such as Akasha. And when he can, he no longer needs the idol or the rituals. He is part of Kali. This is not to say that he does not do homage to the symbols of the cult, but he does not rely upon them. They are explained as part of the training system. Those who have reached this advanced stage believe that they have great magical power. They are told the final secrets by their guru. There is no such thing as Kali, no power but energy, no right and wrong, nothing but you and those like you. You are of the nature of a god. You have been led to this stage by the only avenues possible for a man of your type, as you were, through the path of the physical senses, because they have to be killed. Now you have lost the power to employ your senses, the sexual urge, the need for wine, for corn, for meat and other things. 3 months are given to you to meditate upon this without any idol or ritual to guide you. You have to choose to stay here as a guru and train others, to become a wanderer or a silent holy man, or carry on the search. These gurus, it will be seen, while they may be training others to become antisocial through the implications of the worship of destruction, did not themselves take any part in socially evil actions. It is the less advanced, those who followed the literal path of destruction, who became thugs, and formed the major part of the recruits for the murdering bands which roamed India. Ordinary Kali worshippers, it is true, may easily develop homicidal tendencies, carried away by the fact that Kali must have a sacrifice. And cases are not unknown of people killing their own children because they felt that Kali demanded this offering. In the case of the priest, whose confessions we are following, however, I chose the last alternative because I realized that there was more to be known. My teacher said, "You have chosen well. I always knew that you would discover truth." I wandered away and met many men with whom I discussed things of occult and magical importance. After 3 years of wandering through India, living on the charity of the peasants, he came to the sanctuary of a mystic belonging to a very different cult, that of the dervishes. I came then to the circle, Halka of Janbaz, he who has thrown away his life, and asked if I could take part in his rites. He allowed me to stay in his compound, and for over 2 years I talked with him in his majlis assembly, but still was not admitted to the rites. But I knew that I was on the brink of something because I felt it. He was modest and did not try to impose ideas upon me. To my great joy, one day he gave me an exercise to perform. I carried it out faithfully, though he did not refer to it again. This is a typical method of some of the Sufi dervish teachers, the object of giving some small repetition formula or yoga-like exercise to the postulant is to see whether he will carry it out faithfully and report any effect that it has upon him. If he does so, it shows that he really is anxious to develop the powers and experiences which the dervish purports to be able to produce. If not, he will wander away or lose interest. Hence, probably the 2 years' wait. Janbaz was an anchorite with more disciples than he needed, and could afford to treat them with a certain amount of disinterest, thus selecting only the keenest ones. As soon as one felt a tingling at the base of the spine running up, I realized that it was having some effect. He gave me another and seemed pleased. I asked if I could take the oath of allegiance, but he told me to ask one of his companions. I asked Aslam Abbasi, and he took me to Janbaz as my sponsor, and I was accepted. After being a Salik disciple, I never thought about Bhawani again, as I realized many, many years had been wasted until I got to this path. The thugs, while completely wedded to their Kali rituals, spent far less time in their devotions. They had to study, after acceptance, the signs and signals of the sect, the various omens which told them what Kali was thinking, and the method of strangling with a rupee tied in a knot within the folds of a large kerchief. Thug gangs carried no killing knives, but the priests bore the sacred pickaxes, of which many wonderful stories are told. When, for instance, a gang camped for the night, captured thugs averred, the pickaxes of silver would be thrown into a well or some other inaccessible place for safekeeping. In the morning, the axe-bearer had only to call the axe and it would fly through the air into his hand. Figure H thugs, hand signals. 1. All clear, all safe. 2. Do not attack this person. 3. I want to talk to you privately. 4. Kill. 5. Tonight. 6. There is a meeting. 7. Homage to Kali. 8. I am a member. 9. I'm a priest. 10. Be silent. Certain people were tabooed as thug victims, wandering holy men, women because Kali was a female, and certain classes of merchants. The thugs believed implicitly that if they sinned against Kali by breaking any such taboos, they might be caught. And this, strange though it may seem, was the cause of the exposure of thuggee and the suppression of a large number of gangs by the British. A thug laboring under a burden of sin against the goddess was caught. Believing that his capture was ordained by Kali because of his unfaithfulness to her, he confessed all to the almost incredulous British officers, imp-heating numerous Confederates. And this brought on a chain reaction. The others in their turn reasoned that they had been betrayed because it was their fate to come to such an end. The organization's weakness was just this fatalism. A revival of thuggee in a more efficient form was rumoured following the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947. A number of students, relatively well educated, dispossessed of their property and hopes by the upheaval which scarred the whole of the subcontinent, banded themselves together and swore that they would oppose both India and Pakistan. Their hand would be against every man, except the worshippers of the Mother Goddess. The movement started in Bengal, which has always been a home of the Kali cultists. It was given additional strength because that province, which has a sense of national unity, was divided between the two new powers. Bengalis of both the Hindu and Muslim religions are closer in their ways of thinking than members of the rival religions elsewhere. This time, it seems, Kali worship is to some extent political, though while the strong ritualistic element remains, it will be a difficult thing to suppress. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.